What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit POD I am your host, Miko, and this is your go-to place for all things Lions related. That includes news, updates, analysis, and so much more. In today's podcast, we are going to be breaking down the Lions' most recent preseason game against the Miami Dolphins, and we're going to talk about some of the biggest storylines to come out from that game, as well as what type of impact that could have on the rest of this offseason and this training camp. But before we get into that topic, first and foremost, let me introduce my amazing co-host that I have here with me today. First and foremost, we have your senior editor over at prideofdetroit.com, Ryan Matthews. You can find him at Twitter at Ryan_POD. Ryan, what's going on, my man?
Miko, welcome to the end of preseason week 2.
Technically, yes, it's week 2 for everyone else. It's week 3 for us. I don't know. That's how I've been keeping count of it all.
Yeah, PFF tripping me up all the time, but I'm happy to be here, Miko. Can't wait to break down some more Lions preseason football.
Yeah, I'm sure this will be a nice, calm conversation. Nothing like overly dramatic to kind of, lament on for too long, right, Jeremy?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's definitely not people angry at one person, happy at another person. Just pitchforks out, None of that. None of that is happening. Everyone we're saving the pitchforks for November.
Everyone's taking the preseason in stride as they absolutely should be. And as you guys heard, that is the voice of the chief editor over at prideofdetroit.com, Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online over on Twitter. Guys, like I said, we are going to be basically breaking down the Lions, technically their third preseason game, but obviously, like Ryan said, it is technically week 2 in the preseason. And there's a number of different storylines. Obviously, there is one that is probably going to get more attention than others, like Jeremy kind of limited into, but there's also some other storylines that are kind of been emerging coming out of this game at other positions, specifically looking at like the wide receiver position, as well as some of the defensive line battles and some of the cornerback depth as well. So we're going to get into all of that in this podcast today, but let's start it off with the hot topic that everybody is, can't wait to talk about: backup quarterback. In a season and with a team that is as well built as the Lions, doesn't matter. People still want to talk about the backup quarterback position, and I think based off the performance that Kyle Allen had against the Miami Dolphins in the first half of that preseason game, Jeremy, I think there is a legitimate question to now be had in regards to not necessarily who is QB2 at this point, but whether or not the Lions can justify carrying a third quarterback into the regular season, or if they should be looking to give that position to another player at a different spot on this roster.
Yeah, no, I think Kyle Allen essentially won the backup job on Saturday, if I'm being quite honest. Two really good performances back to back. He wasn't perfect on Saturday night. He had a couple overthrows early in that game, but settled in really nicely, moved the football, couple scoring drives, situational, ending the first half with a really good 2-minute drill. He looks comfortable. He looks like he knows the offense. He looks like he knows where the ball is supposed to go. He's been relatively accurate, hasn't turned the ball over in a couple weeks. That's exactly what you want to see in a backup quarterback. And so I know a lot of people want to talk about Hendon Hooker and his future and things like this, but I think you also have to recognize that Kyle Allen has won this job just as much as Hendon Hooker has lost it. And listen, I'm definitely one of the guys who thought, Kyle Allen, let me look at this guy's stats. Let me look at some of this guy's throws. Oh, this guy isn't competition for Hendon Hooker. This guy's just like, someone who's going to push Hendon Hooker. And I was wrong. Kyle Allen has looked solid this preseason, and he's looked solid in practice. So before we get into like smashing everything about Hendon Hooker's performance and all of that, I think we should take a moment and say like, hey, I don't remember the last time we've even seen any Lions backup quarterback look this good in the preseason since I don't even know when. Like, it's been a long time. And so I'm not going to pretend like Kyle Allen's going to be a great quarterback. There is enough tape on him to realize he's going to be a limited. There's a ceiling to his game, but give the man credit where it's due. I mean, he's looked good this preseason period.
Yeah, I also think too, like his highs are really high for a backup quarterback. Like as Jeremy mentioned, it wasn't all perfect. Those first 3 drives, had Kyle Allen's day ended after those first 3 drives, you would have thought Hendon Hooker's got a pretty good shot at like making an impact and like putting a statement on this game. And those final couple touchdown drives, like you said, the 2-minute drill, it was just execution. It was great decision making. The throws were on time. They were where they needed to be. He had 3 bad drives and ended his day so well that I thought there's nothing that Hendon Hooker can do in the second half that's going to wipe away what Kyle Allen's done over the past, 3 quarters of football that he's played in the preseason. So
That was
it was enough, Miko. Like he had the really bad illegal forward pass where he was like a whole like yard and a half past the line of scrimmage, and it's like, well, he had a couple misses, he had that, some of his drives fell apart due to like the holding calls, the Craig Reynolds stuff, and then he gets the delay of game, and it's like, okay, but those final 2 drives, Miko, I don't know what else you need to see from these quarterbacks to decide that Kyle Allen's your backup quarterback this season.
that was kind of the deciding factor for me as well, Ryan. Like it wasn't necessarily how it started, it was how it ended. And you look at this coaching staff, and one of the things that they consistently preach to everyone on this roster is about their ability to be resilient and how do you bounce back from adversity. And those first 3 drives are as adverse as it could possibly get for Kyle Allen in some of those moments where it was looking like, okay, he's a little in his head, and maybe it's the competition, getting a little bit to him. And like you said, being able to put together those scoring drives, moving the ball efficiently, putting the ball where it needs to be, and like some very crisp throws, right? Like Jeremy, you talk about not knowing the last time you saw like such good backup quarterback play, like even to the standpoint of like how the ball comes out of his hand is very, very pristine in that regard, to where if Dan's saying like, hey, I feel comfortable, having him at this standpoint, like if he had to go in and play a game for us, like he's the one that I feel comfortable with. There's enough that you've seen through this preseason to understand why he feels that way. But with that said, Jeremy, like there is the Hendon Hooker like portion of this where, like you said, as much as Kyle Allen has won it, there is an aspect of this where it's like Hendon Hooker just seems to not been able to like right the ship and do enough to dig himself out of the hole that he kind of dug himself into fairly early in this offseason.
Yeah, and I don't know, this Saturday game. I want to try to make excuses for him again because he wasn't put in the best position. There was more drops. There was penalties that erased third down conversions. But ultimately, if we keep having to give the guy excuses, at some point he has to be culpable for something. Like you said, Kyle Allen was dealing with holding penalties himself, right? Like he got dug into holes and was able to dig himself out of the game. He's able to be resilient. You would have really liked Hendon Hooker to lead that final drive, right? It finally looked like things were clicking. He was playing with some tempo, and you're like, okay, maybe this is just how he operates. If we're just a little bit more, there's more, I don't know, urgency. The tempo was up. All right, like he's making the right reads. And Dan Campbell even said it after the game. Like I was really looking forward to how that was ending because he was playing so well, and it just feels so unlucky a little bit, but at the same time, Hooker probably has to bear some responsibility for that interception. It was an incredible play by the defender. And Hooker even said after the game, like, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. Like that was the read. I didn't think that guy could jump that high. And I want
Okay,
to,
but
like,
he did.
I want to be like, okay, yeah, let's just give all the credit to the defender. Sometimes you have the tip your hat plays where it's just like nothing you could do. That didn't feel like one of those to me. That felt like if Jared Goff was there and he saw a defender right in front of him, what would he do? He'd turf it because he does that all the time. He gives up on plays that he knows are dead. And yes, it did require an awesome play from that player, and for a fourth stringer or third stringer, whoever that guy was, to do it, incredible. But you got to live to see another down. When there is a defender right in front of you, it's just as likely that ball gets tipped up in the air by that guy. Like, even if he doesn't intercept it, it gets tipped up in the air. And like 80% of those balls get picked off when they're deflected in the air. I think that is the coaching point, and maybe Hendon didn't realize it in the moment. Maybe I'm misreading it, but ultimately what I'm saying is, yes, he had some more bad luck last night, but ultimately it falls on him. And now comes the decision of what you do with Hendon Hooker. And I don't think it's as easy as maybe everyone is making it out to be, but it's certainly not looking great for him right now.
I would agree with you because I was on that boat last week when we were doing bubble watch, and I was like, you know what, maybe the Lions just keep 3 quarterbacks. I think the performance from Kyle Allen is so wide at this point, like the gap between them, where I do almost wonder, do you just roll the dice a little bit and just see if he does clear waivers so that you can get him on your practice squad? Because I think the Lions would like to keep developing Hendon Hooker. I think there's been enough development there from my standpoint, from what I've seen on the field, to where it's like you said, there's some bad luck in there where it really muddies the evaluation, but there is like some progress here and there. But I don't know if there's enough progress there, Ryan, to just outright say like, hey, we're going to give up a roster spot to a QB3 when you have some really tough battles at wide receiver. You have some really interesting battles at edge as well as cornerback. Like, you need as many of those roster spots as you can possibly get, and just keeping one just so that you can continue to develop Hendon Hooker does seem like a luxury that the Lions can't really afford right now.
Yeah, I don't think it is one that they can afford to play with. And I think putting him through waivers and whether or not he gets claimed, the Lions have a backup quarterback in Kyle Allen. That's all that really matters, I think, in the here and now. And you're also planning on Jared Goff being your long-term quarterback. So maybe Kyle Allen is the backup quarterback next year. Maybe they draft one. Who knows? I think at this point, the thing that maybe you can see happening here is there's a veteran in Kyle Allen who came in. You have a new offensive coordinator. You have a veteran who's just ready to understand that playbook, Jeremy. Like the comments that he made in the post game yesterday, it's a good offense. It's a really complete offense. I feel like I have answers on every play. I know where to go with the ball versus any coverage. And I just feel confident that whatever play is called, that whatever they're driving, I'm going to know what to get to.
Yep.
Okay. So he's in command of the offense. He feels confident in the offense. He knows where to put the ball. I think there's just so much you see from Hendon Hooker where there's indecision, where, I think that designed rollout on his very first drive kind of speaks to that a little bit, where it's like, if there isn't really anywhere to go with the ball, well, then just make a decision where you're not going to turn the ball over. Or, the thing that happened that's a little bit less worse than a turnover is a sack, right? That basically put them, was that on third down? Or, so that put him in a point where it became third and surrender, right? So I
think they run the draw play the next play, so it kills the drive.
Yep. Yeah. And the drive killers, the turnovers, they've been persistent enough that I wish him all the best. I really do. Like, I think that Miko, I think there's still a lot to be had there. And I was wondering if I was maybe kind of misreading Dan's comments in the post game where he said, we're still going to coach Hooker up. We're still going to see what's there and see if we can get him better. We still got a little bit here. Whether or not that little bit here is literally the time they have left, or like we still feel like we have a little bit to find out about Hendon Hooker,
right?
So
you could probably read it either way, right?
Yeah.
I think the case for keeping him is twofold. One is that it's not going to cost you anything. He's still on his rookie contract for one more year. He's like $1.3 million. The thing it's costing you is a roster spot, right? It's costing you somewhere else, which is not insignificant. Like that is, maybe it's wide receiver 7, maybe it's cornerback 6, maybe it's offensive lineman 10. It's an important potential position that you're cutting in on a championship level roster. Maybe it's hard to justify keeping a third quarterback. But the other thing, other than, hey, let's just see this out, let's give him another year to develop and behind the scenes, team likes to carry 3 quarterbacks, period, whether it's on the roster or the practice squad. And if I'm of the belief that there is going to be some team out there that will bet on Hendon Hooker if you throw him on waivers. I think even looking at the tape, you're going to see a guy who was really good at Tennessee. You're going to see a guy with athletic traits, a guy that has his injury in his past, and a young guy. For the podcast listeners, I did air quotes there. And so then you start at square one with your third string quarterback. And is third string quarterback like super important that you need this good practice squatter that knows your offense? Not really, but it certainly would help not to have to start from square one in the middle of the season and spend the resources to get that guy up to speed rather than having just Hendon there waiting and developing. It would be a heck of a lot easier if the roles were reversed, right? If it was a situation where Kyle Allen didn't win the backup job, you can possibly release him, not subject him to waivers and have him come back on the practice squad. But with the way it is, they got a tough decision on their hands. And if they can, I'm of the belief if they can figure out a way to open up a roster spot for him, I think they will, because I think they want to see his development through. And the one of the reasons I feel that way is because I think I mentioned this on Midweek Mailbag maybe, but ESPN's Kevin Clark interviewed Brad Holmes and talked about lessons learned from Jared Goff. Everyone thought he was going to be a bridge quarterback. You guys developed him into a starter again. What's the one lesson you learned, Brad Holmes? Patience. Patience. It takes a while for quarterbacks to develop, and we have this tendency across the NFL, across positions, where we say, this guy sucks, there's no way he can get any better. And I don't think that's true of Hendon Hooker. But if I'm developing a 53-man roster of a team that I'm trying to win a Super Bowl this year, I am having a hard time justifying his roster spot. All that said,
I think that's where I land as well, though. It's the idea that, like, I think he is very talented. I think when you look at raw talent between him and Kyle Allen, Hendon Hooker comes out on top in that comparison. It's just how they execute their talent is drastically different. Kyle Allen is doing so much more with his talent than Hendon Hooker has been able to do so far this preseason. And I mean, if we're being frank, every season that he's been in Detroit so far. But like you said, Jeremy, there is that risk that you are going to subject him to rate waivers and that someone will see a quote unquote younger quarterback and say, like, hey, I can still develop that, especially if we're talking about teams that maybe have similar championship aspirations. They're like, hey, we can just stash him on our practice squad and develop him from there. There are a number of teams that come to mind when that thought process comes up. But it is something that the Lions are going to have to consider going through the rest of this offseason. And like Dan said, they have a little bit more time to continue to evaluate him to see if he can make that decision harder for them. I will say, though, there is another position group on this team that I think is making the roster construction very difficult, and that is the wide receiver position. We talked about the wide receiver group after the Hall of Fame game. I believe it was like after that game when the Dominic Lovett injury came out, and we were talking about the likes of, like, hey, who's going to step up, because Dominic Lovett got a fair share of targets. I think he led the team in targets that game. And we were talking about, like, hey, this is a great opportunity for Jackson Meeks. Well, Jackson Meeks has taken that opportunity and ran with it, Ryan. And I think it's presented a situation where now we are having this conversation of Lovett versus Meeks, as well as, is there a need for a wide receiver 7? Where do you kind of land when kind of looking at the roster in that light and looking at that position group specifically?
It's a conundrum. It definitely dovetails from our conversation about keeping a third quarterback. The wide receiver 7 spot would be considered a luxury, and really you only consider it a luxury because of the way that Jackson Meeks has played over the past 2 weeks, which has been like eye-popping. I mean, making big-time plays, big-time catches. He had 7 catches on all 7 of his targets for 93 yards and a touchdown. Not bad. Now, he does primarily work out of the slot, so I think that's something to keep in mind. As you're building the roster. Funny enough, you expect that Isaac Taslaw is going to be a guy who has been playing on the outside, and he's been repping on the outside and winning on the outside, which is like the most awesome development of camp so far and through the preseason, is just his ability to play, which Jeremy then leads to, well, Tim Patrick. Like, Tim Patrick is a veteran who will make this football team.
I think
it's
so.
just like you can't say with 100% certainty, but it would seem so anti what the Lions have done and how Dan and Brad have kind of, built this roster. They've leaned on veteran guys in spots where, for the rest of that position, they're pretty darn young.
Yeah, no question. And I mean, it bears repeating, and I keep saying it, like, not only has Meeks not played with the ones, but Isaac Taslaw has barely played with the ones all training camp, like, at all. And he's had opportunities, right? Like, it's mostly been Khalif. When it's not Khalif, it's been a little bit of Tim Patrick. But there was that practice, 2 weeks? No, just a week ago. It wasn't even a full week ago, where you had Khalif dealing with cramps. You had no Tom Kennedy. You had no Isaac Lovett. And who did they throw in the slot? Ronnie Bell.
Ronnie Bell.
They did not even throw Taslaw in there. Not that, and again, I understand Taslaw's playing more outside than slot at this point, but you certainly could have put him in there for some of those plays and you didn't. So I think that shows a level of trust in what you have in Tim Patrick, because he is a guy that, I mean, even when we asked Dan Campbell about Tim Patrick, he's like, Tim's just, he's hard on himself. He's a guy that we extremely trust. We know he can do it in the system. We've seen it do it in the system. And yes, he's aging. Yes, he's currently injured. He hasn't gotten himself back on the field. But as fun as Taslaw been, and boy has he been very, very fun, they're not ready to just take Tim Patrick out of the lineup, completely off the roster. It would make things easier, don't get me wrong, but I just think, assuming that everything's going to be okay with Taslaw when he eventually does jump up in competition, is a dangerous thing to do, especially early in the season.
There's a part of me that also wonders, Jeremy, if the lack of elevating Taslaw to play with the ones more is also just due to the fact that the Lions have so many other options outside of a receiver, where it's like, even if it's not Tim Patrick available in the lineup, we have Sam Laporta, we have Jahmyr Gibbs, we have David Montgomery. We have so many other ways of occupying that other receiver spot that we don't always have to just elevate up another one of these younger receivers. And it maybe is this, this optic of like, hey, we just want to take it a little bit slower with him. We know he's clearly proving himself. Isaac Taslaw has had a fantastic preseason as well, in addition to Jackson Meeks. But when talking about Meeks versus Lovett, we were kind of having this conversation a little bit in Slack. I still lean Lovett's way just because of how versatile he is in terms of special teams as well. And I know it's a little bit closer than probably people expect it to be, but there is a part of me that looks at what Jackson Meeks has done so far this preseason, and I hate to say it, guys, I'm getting Tom Kennedy vibes, just a little bit.
From
With
Jackson
Meeks? Not
just
Lovett?
a little bit. Just the production.
Man.
But it's the production and the volume in which it's happening that it's like, could this actually translate to the regular season if he was brought onto the 53-man roster? For sure. But at the same time, it's also viable that like you're giving a roster spot to a guy that probably isn't going to be utilized a ton, like outside of maybe playing gunner a little bit. But like, I still would take Lovett in that situation. I would still take Lovett as a backup punt returner or a backup kick returner. There's just a little bit more that I see there than I do with Meeks. But I don't know. Maybe I'm on an island with that one.
Maybe you're just not a fan of nepotism.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if it's not in my favor.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
I'm a big Meeks guy right now. I didn't like I get what you're saying, Miko, and believe me, when I'm assessing wide receivers, I'm always like, beware of the preseason darling. Isaiah Williams, God, who was the one that went to the Giants during Hard Knocks? Can't think of his name.
Oh, Khalil Pimpleton?
Yes, right? There's always one that we fall in love with who overproduces. And Meeks could very well be that guy, but there's something that feels a little bit different about this guy. Part of it is the size. He's 6'2". I think he's a good size speed guy. Part of it is how he's winning. Like, it feels like he's caught every route in the route tree this preseason. He's caught a deep pass. He's caught one up the seam. He's caught some out passes. All that seems very good, on top of the things that he also does well that will get him on the roster and maybe even get him on the game day roster, which is block like crazy and play a ton of special teams. He's not the returner. He's not necessarily the gunner, but he played 12 special team snaps on Saturday. There was like 2 guys who had more than that. He can do a little bit of everything. And so I think he's warranted a spot. And I don't know if it's necessarily a him versus Dominic Lovett thing. I would consider keeping both. I would consider keeping 7, which I know seems wild because they kept, I think, 4 last year on the initial roster. Bump that to 7. It's crazy, but 7 is not unheard of across the league. And beyond that, one of the goals of this offseason was to get younger at wide receiver, right? It was something that Brad Holmes specifically said at the owners' meetings. We need to get young in that position because Tim Patrick's not going to last forever. Khalif isn't going to last forever, right? Maybe J-Mo isn't here in 2 years. I'm not advocating that, but it's a possibility, right? And so if you look at what you have with the current slate of these young guys, Lovett certainly tracks to be a potential Khalif replacement. Taslaw might be your Tim Patrick, but then you'll need someone to kind of fill where Taslaw is now, which could be Meeks. And so I don't know. I feel like you don't want to let any of those guys go necessarily. I think Meeks has done more to earn a spot than Lovett, but Lovett's spot is a little bit more valued because they don't have a Khalif Raymond long-term replacement. And that's something that I don't think Meeks is capable necessarily of. I mean, maybe he can play he's played a lot of slot, to be fair, but like the exact role that Khalif plays to me is something that it feels like I just think that you Lovett fits a little bit better.
Yeah, here's a really interesting thing about Jackson Meeks. In the first game against the Chargers, he had 1 snap in the slot and 13 out wide. He had 1 catch for 5 yards. The next 2 weeks, 12 snaps in the slot, 11 out wide versus Atlanta, 15 in the slot versus 8 outside with the Miami Dolphins. Now, I think that combined with him playing special teams might be enough for you to make the argument that you should keep 7. But I'd kind of almost be okay with them keeping 6 and choosing Meeks over Lovett.
I think that's what makes this time of year like so interesting, right? Like you're seeing guys perform at a really high level, and that's why I said like for me, I'm trying to not necessarily pencil it in as a Tom Kennedy type of performance, but it is hard to be like, okay, like how do I see this translating into the regular season in terms of like active game day roster? And to your point, Jeremy, Lovett seems to kind of fit in that mold a little bit better because if you do need a Khalif replacement, because they still like to use Khalif on offense, and obviously he's going to be your main punt returner. If something happens to him, like who's the next man up? Possibly Khalil Dorsey, maybe. I mean, maybe Sione Vaki in those types of situations. But like, I
Amon-Ra,
think
have you seen before in punt return in a pinch?
true. I would probably advocate against that because I would like Amon-Ra to be out catching passes and things like that. But I think that's what makes that battle so interesting at that position. And unfortunately, like yeah, Dominic Lovett had an injury and that kind of kept him out of a preseason game. So he's I think he's having to play catch up a little bit. Yeah, in the minds of fans at this time, but the Lions still have a preseason game. He still has an opportunity to go out there, and he actually did make a couple plays in this past game. Not as many as Meeks did, but some nonetheless.
Yeah.
Um,
Real quick,
one
I
more
want to say they.
yeah.
Oh no, I cut off your. Did I cut off your transition to righteous felon?
No, actually, I was
Okay.
going to transition to one more offensive
Okay.
group, but no, you're good.
They used Donovan Peoples-Jones at punt return during the regular season at one point. So just figure it out. Find someone back there who can call a fair catch. Go ahead. I'm done. Never mind. That was it.
Okay, I wanted to talk about one more position group before we go into break and do all those things, and that's because it's also on the offensive end, and that's the center position. Kingsley Eguakun and Michael Neese both were repping at center with due to the injury to Cologne, so we didn't really get to see him in this game. But I thought Eguakun looked a lot better. The last time, at least that I paid a lot of attention to him, was in that Hall of Fame game, and it was not a great showing. I thought he actually did a little bit better, and I at least think if Cologne's going to have that injury going into the regular season, this may be Iguakun's opportunity to at least take that backup center position, at least as again a security blanket in the event that something were to happen to Graham Glasgow.
Yeah, it's an interesting position because I don't feel great about it, certainly just because whoever wins is someone who doesn't have a lot of experience starting, which, I mean, I don't know how many teams have an experienced backup center. That was certainly a luxury of the Lions during the Frank Ragnow, Graham Glasgow era. But yeah, I'm with you. I thought Eguakun looked strong, solid in the preseason, and really I didn't see any issues in pass protection at all. The one thing we always have to keep in mind with some of the run blocking stuff is how many moving parts there always seemingly is, who you're playing next to.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten all the way through the 22 in the second half, so I can't really speak to Nice's performance. I saw that he actually had a pretty decent PFF grade. I'm taking that with a grain of salt until I can put my own eyes on it, but I think Saturday was likely a step in the right direction for both guys. It's just like a really interesting position battle that we haven't really talked about at all, that Dan hasn't talked about it at all. I'm really hoping to ask him about it on Monday, just because I'd like to know where things stand. I feel like Cologne was kind of in the driver's seat before his injury, and now, Iguakin was maybe the guy that we all had hoped would improve because he was a guy that got name dropped in the offseason, but it's been very up and down for him and Nice. The one thing that might be in Nice's favor is that he's been playing a lot of guard too, and I think obviously the more versatility that you can show, the better. He was actually in on the 2-minute drill in the first half. I think he replaced, can't remember who, if it was Moody or if it was Coyote, but it was one of them. I think it was Aushika he replaced. So I don't it's always hard to try to read that situation. Okay, was Aushika just banged up for a little bit? Do they want to test his versatility and get him with the ones? I don't know how to read that necessarily, but I think you can certainly read it as maybe a positive for Nice.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a positive for Nice in that regard of just being that versatile. But it is interesting, like you mentioned, I think going into the second preseason game, I was very much Cologne probably has a lead on this battle at the center position, but due to injuries, Iguaquin is kind of taking the lead there. But it does feel weird to kind of have him in the lead because I still don't know if that's who I would prefer, Ryan. If the Lions got to just pick the best guy, I don't necessarily know if that would be my choice right now for backup center.
I just prefer Frank Ragnow tough it out and play some more football.
Wow, Ryan calls Frank Ragnow not tough.
It kind of fits his aesthetic right now, right, Jeremy? For those of you that aren't watching the podcast, which you can do over at twitch.tv/PrideDetroit or youtube.com/PrideDetroit, Ryan's gone full Larry the Cable Guy with the flannel shirt and
did you
the
get a little
camo hat.
sunburn right back here, Ryan? Is there a little
You
sunburn
also look
just in this spot?
You do look a little crimson. You look a little.
I forgot to put on sunscreen and I went golfing today. It is what it is. I think with the backup center job in the early on, right, the Iguaquin stuff was exciting because of the name drop, but then it felt a little bit more real because he was repping as a guard. He was getting some run at guard early on in training camp. So you thought, okay, well, they're testing to see the positional versatility. If he can be the backup center, that's great. I don't really know if I have a preference. Just Graham Glasgow, be healthy. Fingers crossed, right? But I think that's kind of how we're thinking about other spots in the offensive line. Taylor Decker, just please stay healthy because Dan Skipper is who he is. It's like that all across the line, except
guard.
The guard feels like there's promise. We don't really know what Miles Frazier is, and at this point, Miles Frazier could be anything, right? He could be awesome. He could be fantastic. There's only potential that can be had there. There's nothing to evaluate on the field. It's very Christian Mahogany-esque, where it was all throughout training camp. It's I don't know. He's a dirtbag. Drafted him in the 6th round. Should have went way higher. You just don't feel like there's any of that depth at center. I don't feel. Tackle. Yeah, to the tackle point too. So, I don't know if this is part of, because Jeremy, you mentioned keeping 10 offensive linemen as a possibility. I don't really know if I were to put those in a hierarchy and list cast them real quick. I'd say I'd want the extra wide receiver, and then I'd want arguably maybe even the QB3. Keep Hendon Hooker and figure it out. I don't really know if I need an offensive line 10. I don't know.
The only way I could justify it is that you could argue it's hard to justify a Giovanni Manu roster spot and not keep maybe a couple of those guards who've earned it more, right? Natani Muti and Coyote Aushika are good guards. They should be on a 53-man roster somewhere. But are you keeping both? as your depth and a backup center? Because now you're at 5, you're at 6 interior offensive linemen just there, right?
Think so, yeah.
Of course, that like one of those could be a temporary spot for when you get Miles Frazier back, but you're like it's just so tricky when you're carrying these guys, these developmental guys, just because in year 3 and year 4 you're hoping they're going to be better, which is kind of why if you're already doing that with Manu,
Gio, yeah,
why do it with Hendon Hooker too? Like why are we just like we're trying to make the Super Bowl and we've got at least 2 spots. Last year it was Broderic Martin as well, right? Why are we reserving all these spots for a guy that may or may not pan out?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to kind of like weigh and kind of like you said, like there's different preferences and there's different things that you could argue for different players and different position groups. One thing you can't argue though is a great deal from Righteous Felon, because whenever you get an opportunity to save 20% off of an order, you should absolutely take advantage of that. And the Pride of Detroit podcast is brought to you by Righteous Felon Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. I was going to say beef jerky, but it's not. It's craft jerky. It's the jerky that fuels the Pride of Detroit POD cast. Every 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein, and each stick has 8 grams. Trust me, if it's good enough for the Lions, it's going to be good enough for you too. Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They use locally sourced, all-natural Black Angus beef and prides itself on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond your stereotypical jerky offering. That's why it's called craft jerky and not just regular beef jerky. All right, guys, they put so much into their flavors and their jerky offerings. I've talked about this enough. I'm a huge fan of Foul Capone. Right now, I just have to deal with the meat sticks because they don't actually have the jerky in stock. But whenever they do, I'm telling you guys right now, I'm ordering an obscene amount that like they should put me on the wall whenever that order comes in. I don't know. Any of you guys have another flavor that you kind of like have up there?
I think we need to like send out an alert when they finally get in stock. Like if we notice before everyone else, like we got to get our stock first, and then we let everyone else know and be like, hey, rush to the website, go get yourself some turkey jerky.
I will literally like have it taped to my shirt just so that everybody can see that I have it. That's like, just let me know first so that I can at least get my order in there. And then you guys can take care of the rest of the customer base and they can take advantage of this amazing promo. Right, Ryan?
Yeah, get her done.
So with that said, guys, go over to righteousfelon.com, use the promo code POD20 at checkout to get 20% off your order. Once again, that's promo code POD20 at righteousfelon.com. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some of the standouts and some of the storylines from the defensive side of the football, as well as some other players that maybe we didn't get to talk about in the first segment. And you guys know, since it was a preseason game, we got to talk about our T-Pain player of the game. So if you want to stay tuned for all of that, make sure you stick around after this short break. We'll see you guys right after that.
I loved you in Cars, by the way, Ryan.
Oh, man. I'm going to go get scissors and just cut the sleeves off.
Go ahead and like throw like a deer behind you.
Yeah. Get some taxidermy going in the classroom.
Get some chew.
Oh, what a lovely room of death.
Uh-oh. Touchdown pass. Caleb Williams, 36 yards. It's happening, guys. Ben Johnson fixed him.
Bears 17-0, Lions 0-17 confirmed.
How does he have 97 yards in one drive? Did they start?
I mean, I was like, he likes to run backwards a lot.
Oh, there was a holding penalty.
Because they're just that darn good.
Okay, hold on. Also notable, their drive was pass, 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 holding, pass, run, pass, pass.
Ben Johnson, he needs a run game.
Dude. If DeAndre's supposed to be running back, you're just going to pass it 90 times a game.
I don't like any of this.
If you're the Chicago Bears, do you trot him out for a second drive?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
leave on a high note. Leave on a
Yeah.
high note. Leave with everyone thinking like this offense is so awesome.
Right.
No, because if you don't trot him back out there, you're cowards. That's the ultimate stop
So,
the count.
No.
That's the ultimate
so
stop
you
the
want them to
count
trot them
preseason
out
game.
so that he can throw an interception. But if you were actually thinking like the Bears should think, they're like,
All right. First of all, we don't want him to throw an interception. We want him to throw a pick six. Make it way more dramatic. Like directly to like the middle linebacker that's just been sitting in the middle of the field.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay, which by the way, I know Jeremy has to get to alerts, but before we got on live here, we were talking about like the 5 worst things that could happen to the Lions this year from a former Lions player.
Yeah.
So we might go through that later on.
Just because we're masochistic as hell.
Just a pain cast.
That's right. Paincast. Dan Pask, 50 months subscribed to us on Twitch, says 50 for the Super Bowl. Oh yeah. Cattle Snacks, 39 months subscribed to the channel, says Jeremy has a hot take about the Lions, maybe regarding Hendrickson. No, I do not. Cattle Snacks, how dare you?
Jeremy, if the Lions were to trade for Hendrickson, would they be the favorites in the NFC?
Sure. Well, then they have to do it.
They have to do it. It's a great impression.
He's out for a second drive. That means he's on the field, correct? I always have to be very careful with my tweets. Because like if I say, Ahmed Hassanin's out there for practice, people are like, do you mean he's not practicing or do you mean he's practicing? I get that a lot. He's on the field. There we go. They're going to give it a go.
Come on, pick six.
No, I mean Hendrickson. We're not going to get into whether the Lions should make a blockbuster move at edge again. We're not having that conversation after we did it for 4 months of this offseason.
Why?
No,
Why not?
Pay the one you have. Pay the one you have. How about that?
But did we do it yet this month?
No, I don't think we did.
I don't think we've had a chance to really do it.
Well, I don't know. There was the
No, we talked about Zadarius.
Micah Parsons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, so we
I
did talk about that.
I think Micah Parsons counts. 2 incompletions in a row. He's washed. Should I be watching this? I did record it. I'm not gonna lie.
Buying on your axe.
I have not watched as much preseason football as I thought I was going to.
Yeah. All right.
Like,
I'm moving
really
on.
Wanted to see, I really wanted to see Cam Ward and just see like what Tennessee has, if that's like if he's something or not, and like haven't gotten around to doing
It's
that.
funny because I saw like the one really nice throw that Cam Ward made that actually ended up being dropped. It was like 40 yards downfield. Laid it perfectly across from like hash mark to hash mark. Like, oh wow, he must have had a good day. And then I checked, it was like his stats were terrible and his PFF grade was terrible. I'm like, oh, this is what happens when you live your life on Twitter instead of the real world.
Yeah, I feel like I've only seen live. Arguably, I've seen like probably like one of the biggest moments. I was watching the Cowboys preseason game when Romo hurt his back and Dak Prescott came in. And then that was it. Like I was watching that game I think it was 20, can't remember, but I remember where I was in my room watching it on my laptop on NFL, whatever it was called at the time.
Yeah.
And just being like, oh. And now I think back to all that time. I'm like, wow.
Changing of the guard.
Dak Prescott.
That could be Kyle Allen for the Lions, guys. Or something.
How close to the end of Romo's career was the fumbled snap for the extra point or the field goal?
It was very early in his career.
Was it really that early in his career?
Yeah, I think that was I if I'm not mistaken, that was the year that he went from backup to starter because that's why he was still the placeholder.
Because he'd just been doing it all season
as the backup. Yeah,
that makes sense. My Romo knowledge is lacking, and it feels like it was 30 years ago. LJ agrees with you. All right. Nixus, 7 months, subscribe to the channel, says Prime was available. Hey, using that Twitch Prime, which is always a good reminder. If you have Amazon Prime, go over, make a free Twitch account, twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit, make a Twitch account, go to settings, go to connections, connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You can subscribe to us absolutely for free. It's a way to support us. It doesn't cost you a dime, just costs you about 5 minutes of work. Simple. If you like our content, you've been loyal to us, why not throw us a little Twitch Prime sub?
Why not?
Why not? Cool. A 33-month subscribed channel says 33 is a master number. It's about spiritual evolution. Side note, hoping we see some sort of evolution with Hooker. That would be nice. I wonder if Sione Vaki knows all about that spiritual evolution, because he's number 33. Grant Hill.
Another good number 30. Patrick Ewing.
He was 33?
Patrick Waugh.
Ooh, don't include him.
Oh, okay.
Isn't he like an abusive coach? Isn't that who he is now?
Oh, he yells a lot. Also, I don't think as a Red Wings fan you're allowed to throw stones in that glass house, Mike Babcock.
We don't have to endorse Mike Babcock at any point as a Wings fan.
I don't even like saying that I'm a Wings fan at this point.
Oh my gosh.
We can just keep going.
Oh my gosh. JC Paxton, 31
long
months.
year.
Says, I'm back, go Lions. Hey, welcome back, JC. Appreciate you. Oma, or Orn, is that an R? I can't tell if that's an R and an N together or just an M. I wonder if I can increase the font size. I'm too old, I guess. The font size is too small.
Computer enhance.
Alert for Michiganders with windows shut for days. It's cool out. Open it up. I have several windows open outside of my own room. I wish they were open in my room, but I feel like sound
it was really
also
nice
travels
out
through windows. Then I shouldn't be doing that. HSW and a bunch of numbers. 8 months subscribed channel says been having a tough day, so it's good to see y'all stream. Go Loins. I love Loins. Loins. Hey, appreciate you hanging out. And you're one of the more active people in the chat, and I always do appreciate that as well. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the 8 months subscribed on Twitch.
Yeah.
Marcus, first time subscriber using their Twitch Prime. Appreciate that. Thank you, Marcus. Nick the Greek, 100 bits. Matt, Patricia's unique armpit fat. Okay, we're switching it up.
All right.
Great. New season, new body part.
He's just so far in the past.
Sin the Half, 2 months subscribed to the channel, says, does anyone else hate watching the Bears play their starters in the preseason? Very clearly, yes. They did end up punting after 3 straight incompletions, by the way. Also got helped out by a neutral zone infraction on 3rd and 10, and it still didn't work. 3rd and 5, incomplete pass to Roma Dunze.
Ben Johnson's on the way out, guys.
That's it. He peaked in the first drive of the second preseason game.
Could you imagine if it was all downhill from here?
Be amazing.
It'd be amazing. Would you take joy in that?
Well, I mean, not with Ben Johnson's downfall, but with the Bears' downfall, yes. I have no ill will towards Ben Johnson. Like, literally none.
They're
I have no
inextricably
ill will towards
linked now,
him.
though, Miko. They're inextricably
I was gonna say,
linked.
like, that's the bed that you chose. Like, so I get to laugh at you either way.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I think I don't have a problem with that. As
Like,
long
I'm
as he's wearing a Bears
unapologetically,
shirt, you can laugh at him. Yeah.
like, I'm unapologetically like rooting for Aaron Glenn in the Jets. Like,
It is still
be solid.
a little bit wild to me. Like, I understand why it's so diametrically opposed, but it is like fascinating to me just how much most Lions fans hate Ben Johnson and love Aaron Glenn for 2 reasons. 1, because they essentially did the same thing, obviously to different teams, and that matters. 2, Ben Johnson was a better coordinator. Like, there's no question Ben Johnson was a better coordinator. I'm not saying he'll make a better head coach. In fact, I agree with a lot of the arguments that he won't. But Ben Johnson was very largely responsible for the Lions' success over the last 2.5 years. And
Do
Aaron
you think
Glenn
people
kind of was.
Do you think people would be less sadistic toward him if he hadn't made like those really terrible jokes at like the Lions' expense, where it's like it felt like he was taking jabs?
It didn't help.
It didn't help, but
Right.
also anything that the man said was being interpreted as negative towards the Lions.
I mean, like, just even the hiring process and like the interview and then the game, like all of that got turned into like, oh, like people weaponized that against Ben Johnson. So they took anything that they could
Right.
and did that
Yeah.
to him. I kind of take umbrage though with the whole like Ben Johnson, like a way better coordinator than Aaron Glenn, especially last season. That defense had nobody on it. And
No, that's fair.
I mean, what did they do?
But
They-
all I'm saying
chicken,
is
chicken salad out of chicken, you know what?
they
for
mostly
sure.
won games because of their number one ranked offense. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think you can make that argument for sure. But
Yeah. But I mean,
I
you give
also
Aaron
saw-
Glenn
yeah.
Aiden Hutchinson like for an entire season last year, and
might make a difference.
Yeah, no question. Listen, I'm not saying I'm surprised that people hate Ben Johnson. I'm not at all. Like he's a Chicago Bear. That's all it needs to be. It's just the manufacturing of storylines or narratives.
yeah,
I guess what blows my mind is that everyone thinks he was like overly risky. Like they weren't loving. Like everyone absolutely loved the trick plays because they were working, because they were really good. And until like when it doesn't work in one game, granted, yes, very important game, and really only one of them didn't work. Suddenly it's he was too fancy, he was too overthought everything. Now we got a coordinator who's level-headed, who runs the ball. It's just like, okay, come on. We are rewriting history here a little bit.
first offensive snap under Johnny Mo, flea flicker,
Right.
Jamo.
Oh yeah. No, the first snap that the Lions take, Jared Goff empty set and just have everybody scream and clutch their pearls. Jared Goff motions to an empty set and Twitter burns down.
All right. Let me get to the rest of these alerts. We don't need to relitigate Ben Johnson or edge rushers. Ryan Toledo, Detroit, 36 months subscribed to the channel, says if you're looking over your personal finances, Hooker would probably qualify as a luxury expense too. Yeah. I don't disagree.
That's how I'd categorize it.
Yeah, I would argue that most families only need 2 cars.
Yeah.
I just had to bring up car talk. I'm
Car
sorry.
talk. That's right. I listen. I thought we'd move from car talk to baseball analogies, so I don't
You're gonna
know.
have to give me a second. You're gonna have to give me a second.
I was gonna let it slide. I just assumed the flannel was talking for you.
You would have said you only need 2 trucks.
You only need 2 pick 'em up trucks.
Pick them up trucks.
Bro, I saw one video of a dude that was so country say pick 'em up trucks, and it's my favorite way to say pick 'em trucks.
Oh man, if you pick them up trucks, you put them on down trucks too.
Listen, I don't know.
I don't know where this is going. Spielman,
No, we're
54
good.
H04, 32 months subscribed to the channel, says almost time for real football again. LFG. Boofgerts, 20 months. Your name always makes me laugh. I don't know what it means, but it makes me laugh. Kylo Den, 12 months, a full year subscribed to us on Twitch, says, where was Ryan on January 6th? People are asking.
Oh man,
Run the footage. I'm sure you can.
no, let's definitely not because I have receipts.
D-Man, 56 months subscribed to the channel. And Papa Steve, Twitch Prime subscriber for the first time. And I saw him in the chat. Thanking us for the instructions. No, thank you for following the instructions, going through that, becoming a first-time subscriber. As a reminder, just when we get to next month, that does not automatically renew like normal subs do. Paid subs do, I should say. no need to say normal, irregular, whatever. Yeah. So just once September 17th rolls around, just double check your subscription status, and if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Check the Prime sub button again, and subscribe. And we're caught up.
So the one thing I did want to bring up last segment that I didn't was you could do some roster shenanigans with Tim Patrick, though, right? You could cut him and bring him back.
Sure. Yeah.
I was wondering the same thing though, like if they really wanted to keep Hendon, like would they do the same thing with Kyle Allen?
Kyle
Where,
Allen?
like, yeah.
I don't think so. I think that somebody would pick up Kyle Allen.
The question is, so a lot of times the reason you do that is to place another guy on IR, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no point in saying, hey, let's cut Tim Patrick so that we can fit Hendon on the roster, because he's still like, there isn't going to be a spot that opens us unless you put someone on IR. And so you have to think about guys that are currently injured that aren't season long injuries, but you might want back later. And now the NFL rules say you can have two guys who you can cut down on IR. You can put on IR on cut down day, and they can be that short-term IR. But if there's a third and a fourth, that's when you start having to do those roster shenanigans. So, like, let's say Hassanin is one. We don't really know that, but
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Let's say it's a month injury, right? It's a month-long injury. That would be a good way to open up a roster spot. He probably wasn't going to play a ton anyways in the first month of the season. You say, hey, one of our spots from IR, we're going to put him on IR. He'll come back later. Maybe another one is Cologne, right? They haven't put him on IR yet, which is a little interesting, but it's a longer-term injury. Maybe he's the guy that you want to keep either on your practice squad, or maybe he's a guy that you believe will be your backup center. That's two. So you're already at two. Is there a third guy that got injured in training camp that's not on IR? Or in this last preseason game, doesn't seem like anyone else did. I don't think there is yet, right?
No, I don't think so.
I can think of.
Pascal doesn't count because Pascal's already on the NFI. You can just keep him on the NFI. You don't need to use an IR spot for him if you wanted to do that. Like, obviously that opens up a roster spot, and we'll talk a little about Pascal and Wingo and who else? There's a couple other, right, that are like right on the edge. The corner, Dorsey.
Oh, you're just specifically talking injured guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mixture of both the head coach and the GM that make those decisions. Yeah. Anyways, Nicholas JP 15 months says loins. Was anything heard on Ahmed? No, I was hoping maybe we'd get someone leaking it, or I've been going to his brother's Twitter account because he talks a lot in a good and bad way, probably. But I thought if anyone was going to break the news, maybe he did, but I don't think he said anything. We get Dan Campbell tomorrow afternoon, so
You can DM him.
Dan Campbell?
No. Hassanin's brother.
I could. I wouldn't do that to him. I can wait 12 hours.
Look at you being patient.
The media never sleeps, Jeremy.
That's right.
Big brother.
I should be trying to get scoops.
Dude, the only scoops I want right now is some black cherry ice cream. That sounds so good right now.
Oh, that sounds great.
Pec injury makes a lot of sense because he grabbed his pec almost immediately, and it would track with everything. Like they're supporting his arm so they don't move his pec. But you don't know severity. You don't know that for sure. So we'll see. The Lions do have one joint practice with the Texans on Thursday. They also have normal practices Monday and Tuesday, I think. Jeremy Nightcrawler Reisman. Yeah, no. That movie was disturbing.
Always wanted to watch it, but like never actually sat down and
Is that the
Checked it
Gyllenhaal
out.
movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he called you Nightcrawler, and my brain immediately went to X-Men because I have a 3-year-old son who cannot stop watching cartoons.
Is that the blue guy
Yeah.
with the tail?
Yeah.
He teleports.
Crawls through the night.
I mean, he does crawl on walls, but yeah. I mean,
You know what, Jeremy? In another life, you would have been the perfect guy to name superheroes. Like just back in the 40s and the 50s, like Jeremy would have made a killing on just
Sure.
he's fast.
I
Flash.
how good is your like superhero knowledge, Jeremy? Because like I feel like it would be funny to see you like try to name superheroes by just like what they look like.
I think better than he lets on.
I think so. But we did this with Harry Potter, I don't know, like a month or two ago, and that I legitimately don't know much about, like at all. But I feel like
no.
comic books have been around long enough and in popular culture long enough where I feel like I have a generally good. But if you want to come up with like
I'm just
a
like I was just
PowerPoint,
thinking- well, that's like because yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Like when they did like the schedule, like when the Titans did the schedule release, and they just like had all the teams' logos. Like I just imagine you just like seeing superheroes and just being like,
I mean, I feel like the fact that I just nailed Nightcrawler shows that I got a pretty like that's kind of a deep cut, right?
I don't know, because you also said the blue guy, and I feel like if I would have showed you Mystique, you would have been like Nightcrawler.
No, the woman that's played by that model. God, what's her name?
Rebecca Romaine.
Rebecca Romaine. Yeah. Nah, come on.
Oh, you didn't even go Jennifer Lawrence. Wow, good for you.
Jennifer Lawrence played her in like the recent movies.
Yeah,
Oh, see, I didn't realize that.
Dav loves that movie.
Nightcrawler's not a deep cut. He's not even like one of the main X-Men. There's like 4 or 5 main X-Men, and he's not one of them. Right?
I just sent a picture
he's
to
not
Jeremy.
one of the originals.
Okay.
I just sent a picture to Jeremy and Miko in Slack. How many of those can you name, Jeremy?
Ooh.
That's the Justice League.
Yeah. Probably the bottom 5. I feel like I know who the top left one is. Is the top right just like Hawk Girl? No.
This is what I mean.
Yes,
like that's
yes, it is.
Oh, it is.
but
Okay.
that
it's just the
proved my
process of
point.
elimination.
Yeah.
It proved
Wonder
my
Woman,
point that
Superman, Green Lantern, Flash, Batman, Hawk Girl, and I don't know. Looks like Dr.
Hold on.
Manhattan.
Bonus points if you know Green Lantern's real name.
No shot.
John Stewart.
Really?
Yeah.
well, yeah, that Green Lantern. There's a few different Green Lanterns.
Who's the Dr. Manhattan looking guy?
That's John Johns, who's also known as like the Martian Manhunter.
John Johns?
Yeah, he's an alien.
All right.
He's a Martian. Yeah.
But the funniest thing was that Jeremy was like, "Ah, Hawk Girl." It's like, yeah, you would be perfect at naming superheroes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep. I
she
can't
looks
tell
like-
if I knew that or if I'm just putting 2 and 2 together there.
She looks like a hawk. It's a girl.
Chet knows
Oh,
John Stewart.
man.
You could definitely F me up with some anime, though.
Oh,
see,
that would be
I wouldn't be
hilarious.
good at that either.
I'd be like, okay. Like, stuff that's like popular now, like, oh, yeah. You go like too deep cut and stuff, I'd be like,
It's a cult. It's a cult.
Well, anime cult.
Yep.
Oh,
Some of them are.
See?
I was about to say the thoughts and opinions expressed by Jeremy Reisman are not a reflection of the rest of this.
Listen,
Hey,
cults
listen.
have like some good qualities to them. A little
And-
like
and like-
brotherhood.
Enlighten us. Enlighten us.
Community.
Oh, yeah.
That's about it. What?
Said free punch.
Tree Punch. No, that's not one of them. Do you like Danadan? Asks in the half, Miko.
Don to Don. Yeah, it's
Sure.
good. It's not something that you can like recommend to people without like giving context. Like you got to like sit someone down and like prepare them to like watch that one. But it's like really good. Mashl's good too. Mashl's awesome.
Interesting. It's discussions like these where the generational gap is most apparent. Yeah. I certainly feel old when you're telling me that Mystique is not currently played by Rebecca Romaine Stamos. I just saw a Naked Gun today finally, and I enjoyed it. And to see Pamela Anderson as like an older hot person is also weird.
Jarring.
Yeah, a little bit. I won't spoil.
I never saw the.
I mean,
original. I never.
It's Naked Gun. You don't need spoilers. Like the plot is not important. I won't spoil any jokes, I guess. You said you haven't seen the original?
No, but I do want to see like the new one. The new one looks funny. So, do I need to see the original to understand?
No, but
The
it's
new one?
just it's just very true to that style of humor. So if you liked the original Naked Gun movies, I feel like you will like this one.
Gotcha.
Wow. Okay. Cram. That show doesn't sound like it's for me.
Yep.
All right, yeah. So, anyways, we talk about anything other than anime right now.
Kylo, don't throw the jokes in there. What did you send? Oh, is that just the? Yeah, that's just the Justice League. If you asked me to name the Martian guy again, I would not be able to do it right now. Wait, Jon Stewart. No, that's the other one. No,
Nope.
that's Green Lantern. John? Is that right?
John's. Yeah.
He
John's-
called him John.
Is that not what you said?
John's.
John's
With a
Johns.
Z.
There's
Yeah.
Now I'm just imagining Martian Manhunter like is just like some hillbilly and not an actual Martian. He's just for some reason he's green. His name is John.
Would I rather watch 3 hours of anime or have a 15-minute Twitch Q&A where I had to answer every question honestly? 3 hours of anime.
Take
Because
the anime.
I like to think I'm a pretty transparent person, but you guys would ask like stuff that would put my reputation on the line, like, oh, who's your favorite Lions writer, or which player do you actually hate? And it's just like, well, I don't want to do that.
Where were you on January 6th?
So yeah, I don't actively hate anime. It's not like torture to watch it. It's just not my thing.
You don't gotta convince me. I get it.
Yeah, no, I'm
That's how, I don't know, but that's how I feel about like most TV shows. Like when people are like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you don't like this," and it's just like, it's not like I hate it. It doesn't capture my interest.
yeah. I don't actually like judge and people who like anime. When I said it was a cult, I was mostly joking.
Yeah, but I was like also mostly serious when I was like, "No, there's some out there that are like." take
In a
little too
way, like
serious.
I wish I would, because like you and Morgan are so passionate about something. I'm like, well, I want to be passionate about that too, like that. But it's not how the world works.
But it's also, I don't know. You guys love the Detroiter, and I thought it was just okay.
Okay, you didn't have to twist that knife.
I listen.
Yeah. You're lucky I don't watch any anime to disparage any of the shows you like.
Because you can't. They're all great.
Watch anime or do an entire series on special teams. What do you mean series? What does that mean? I still have
like line up on special teams.
like I have to go play in a series.
Punt protector.
I got it. Listen, I can catch punts. It's been proven. I've done it on a Lions facility.
Guy puts a helmet on one time.
A week's worth of articles. I could do that. I think I could do that and not feel terrible about it.
Sit in the half. That's exactly how I feel about reality TV. And my wife loves reality TV, and we are on entirely different spectrums on what we find entertaining. The thing that's hilarious though is that both of us have had moments where we've walked in on the other one watching a show and been like, "What the hell did they just say?" So no matter what you're watching, you still have those moments.
Yeah. If there's a show that I really don't understand why people like it, is it Below Decks? The reality show about people who
they work on boats.
Work on cruise ships not cruise ships, like private boats,
like
yachts
private and events. Stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that is just like a bunch of spoiled, rich 22-year-olds bickering with each other, and it gives me
you have not had the pleasure of enjoying Vanderpump Rules, because show,
I don't even know what that is. I've heard of it. I have no idea what it is.
It's literally the same, like what you just described, except like whoever the lady is, like owns like a couple restaurants or something like that, and she like has these employees that are like all in their, well, when the show started, I think they were all like in their early 20s. When like my wife was still watching it, like the show was still on, and like these people are now in their 30s and they're still behaving the same way, and it's like, what the hell is going on?
No, Jeremy, you should not check out Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, because Amanda made me watch some of that, and my goodness. It was like, you know what? You don't have to watch quarterback. It's fine. Like, like this isn't going to be transactional. I'm not watching some of this so that you'll watch quarterback. I'll just find other times in the day to watch that.
What's the most painful show that like Amanda has either made you watch, or like that you've at least had to overhear her watching, where you're just like, there's no way you enjoy this?
Love is Blind is very frustrating. Like, it gets on my nerves. Yeah.
I have to like, I can jump in and watch that with Kalila, like at a certain point. Like they have to be out the pods. Like everything that happens in the pods is pointless. Everything after that, like I can like jump in and out. I would say for me though, Kalila used to watch Dance Moms, and for the longest time I was convinced that my kids would not do dance. I was like, there's no way in hell. I was like, if this is what it is, I was like, this is the quickest way you could ever get me to fight a woman. Like, there's no way I could do this.
Yeah, I'm out on all those reality shows. I'll mess with like some competition shows that are just like, I could watch a season of American Idol if I wanted to. Like, that's fine. It's just people competing, dancing, baking, like all those things are fine.
What about Canadian Idol? Would you watch that?
Sure. Yes. Only if they all have to do Evanescence.
Would you be the person who would tell them whether or not they've gone on to the next round?
Nope.
I feel like Kylo Den is trolling us. Hear me out. A reality show called House of Hutch, which I feel like you're baiting us.
We're not. Nope. Yeah. Most Extreme Elimination Challenge on Spike TV. Of course I remember that.
Heck yeah, MXC.
Yes. And then, like, I feel like that got Americanized first with, I feel like Ninja Warrior is kind of a spin-off of that, almost. Maybe not. Just Wipeout. It's Wipeout.
I was going to say, like, yeah.
They made it into Wipeout.
Mm-hmm, yeah. John Cena host Wipeout?
Does he now?
No. I think, did he?
I know
He
Rob
did.
I think Rob Riggle used to be one of the two. There's like two announcers, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So,
John Cena is doing it, I think.
Currently,
it's still happening. What's up, Goof? Thank you for the 39 months. Says the OG Ninja Warrior with the guy screaming at you in Japanese was peak television, and you'll never change my mind. I'm trying to
I'll take
remember
your
what that
word
was
for it.
like.
I mean, they did episodes of Wipeout at the beginning of this year, 2025,
Oh.
and Cena's still doing it.
Movember Gold. Jeremy has to write a review comparing two different reality shows where he watches a whole season. You have to post a poll on POD with different shows, and you have to do the top two. Oh boy,
I'd be down with that or an anime.
that'd be pretty good. I think it would be a little bit unsatisfying for you guys not watching me watch the actual shows. Like you don't get to see the actual painful part. But I was just thinking about it today. I don't have any ideas for Movember goals. And I have to I feel like every now and then we come up with them and we're like, "Oh, that's really good." And then I don't write it down and then it never gets done. But at some point,
it needs to be a Google Doc tab that doesn't get
does.
closed.
I almost want to open it up to everybody. Like, let's just have a Google Doc open to every. I know that's a 100% terrible idea. Like, I recognize
Now that
You
I
wanted
say it
some
out
interesting
loud.
Yeah, you'll get some
Inviting
interesting suggestions.
all of the internet to one document is going to result in bad things. I understand that.
No, I got it. PODD direct. Like, if you don't have PODD, you can't suggest anything for Movember. That'll at least limit it a little bit.
True. Jeremy has to join Mina Kimes' Love is Blind. Does she actually have a Love is Blind podcast? I know she's a fan. That's funny. But you can't live stream. There's no Twitch. What was it called? I don't even remember what Twitch called it. The watch along stuff. Watch parties.
Watch parties. Yeah.
Oh, watch party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people would still just get a kick out of like you reacting to it.
Like if I'm just watching on a screen here and they can't see the screen.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Obviously, it would be more fun if they could watch
Yeah.
alongside you, but
Is Demon Hunter like particularly weird or violent or something?
I was curious if he meant Demon Hunter or Demon Slayer. Because the first thing I thought when I saw Demon Hunter was K-pop Demon Hunter, and I was like, that would be funny to like have you watch. That would be hilarious too.
Just you can do it on, here's the thing, I could do it on Discord, but we wouldn't be live streaming. I still like it's still not, we're still not allowed to stream anything across like,
Okay,
YouTube,
yeah.
Twitch.
So he meant Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer would be like, I think would be a good one. It's not, it is violent, but like, I don't know. I think it's enjoyable.
Katie, I don't think we could get Eric to agree to that, to be quite honest. We can't even get Eric to run another 40-yard dash, let alone play hockey. Maybe just street hockey with his shoes on.
Have him flood his driveway in the middle of the winter.
But I'm not against it. I would love to see Eric play hockey.
Why do we? Where did that come from?
Oh God, I'm trying to remember the context. He had just mentioned at some point when he was younger he used to play hockey. It must have been I think it was a PODD video, and I just stopped him and be like, I would love to watch you play hockey right now.
I'm all for playing hockey.
We
Let's
still
go play
need to
hockey.
cash in a whole bunch of PODD or Movember stuff, including some people that need to get on the pod. So if you're one of the two people, I think two people have reached out that want to be on the pod. I haven't forgotten. I'm just procrastinating, which is just what I do. But we'll get to it, I promise. All right. You guys want to get back into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd like to eat dinner at some point.
Okay. Let's do that then. It is 3 months away from November, which means I should get the other ones done in the next 3 months. I think I'm going to get a pedicure anyways, because now I have that gift card. Do you guys hear about that? Ryan knows.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No, I don't know.
He won it at the bowling charity event.
Yeah.
You want a gift card for a pedicure?
Well,
For a
to
nail salon. I did.
Congratulations.
We had a long conversation during the midweek mailbag about whether I should get a mani or a pedi or both, and then how.
Get
a pedi, right?
You gotta get the pedi. You gotta get the pedi because you definitely don't take care of your feet. Like no average man takes good care of their feet.
Yes, but I was shocked by how many people have said they've gotten one. It was almost like a 50-50 split.
I've never gotten one before.
Me neither.
I haven't either. I've been thinking about getting one though. My feet are rough. Like not Shaq rough, but like.
But that's like part of why I don't want to go. You know what I mean?
This is the conversation we
like,
had. It's like you feel guilty. You're like, it's disgusting. I don't want to subject this to a person. But that's also kind of the.
But it's like,
trade
I kind of need it done.
Right.
Like I kind of need it done, and my wife has basically said, "Hell no." So like, I got to subject some other poor individual to like. They get paid for it. Like it's not like you just,
I just know that I would like tip them excessively.
Yeah. Especially if you're paying with a gift card.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you're gonna get so many dirty looks.
Yeah. I need like a buffer. I need someone to come with me. I don't want to do that solo.
Wait, what? That's the sorry. When you said buffer, I thought you meant like Dumb and Dumber. Remember when they're getting pedicures?
No, not a literal buffer.
Like...
The sparks are coming off. No,
Oh man.
A human buffer to help with the awkwardness of the situation.
Just know you're gonna probably be the topic of conversation once they leave. Like once you leave, they're gonna be like,
whatever. I'll never see him.
That guy.
I thought Jeremy was going to bring
until you make your second appointment.
Yeah,
you walk off. You're like, man, I feel like I'm you feel like you're walking on clouds. And like second appointment, you're like, yeah.
I'm not there though. Like I won't be able to show my face there ever again. Like I've just bounced from nail to salon, salon to nail salon, and just leave a wake of stories in my dust.
You're like the future of nail salons. You just pop in, do what you got to do, and then leave them.
There will just be
scarred.
fables of the guy who only goes one time, pays in a $50 gift card, and is never seen again.
Gone with the wind.
All right, let's get back to it. I am ready when you guys are.
And welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Segment 2 here. We are going to be talking a few defensive positions that performed really well in the Lions versus Miami Dolphins preseason game, as well as look ahead to some other storylines that could be happening throughout the rest of training camp. And again, like I've mentioned before, talk about a few players that stood out as well. But before we get to that, we got to give at least our nominations for this week's Peanut M&M's T-Pain Player of the Game to come out of this most recent preseason game. Ryan, because this is your love child, I'm going to give you the honor of picking first. And yeah, let us know if you're going to go with the easy layup, or maybe you're going to, pick someone that most of us maybe didn't consider as a standout from the most recent preseason game.
No, I think it counts as a standout from the preseason game. It's Sione Vaki. It's you know what? Not only is it my Peanut M&M T-Pain Player Game of the Week, Player of the Week, Game of the Week, Team of the Week, Week of the Week, preseason week. Craig Reynolds also he backs up my vote on this. He's like, thank God Sione Vaki was there to grab some carries from me. 5 carries, 30 yards, 6 yards an attempt.
Forced fumble.
Special teams, like Sione Vaki was all over the place making plays, and it was it was exciting to see the guy just be on the field, right? It very much gave like Grant Stewart vibes of, I mean, especially from the very get go, right? Like it's very clear that they wanted to kick to Grant Stewart and they did not want to kick to Sione Vaki. So
It's true. I wonder why that is, though.
I don't know, but
you want a charging 240-pound linebacker coming at
not
you?
me. I think Grant Stewart is going to be good to bring the ball to the 30 every single time.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it's solid.
Sione Vaki could maybe just take it a little bit further.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, you gonna go with your nomination?
Miko, I'm gonna make your job the easiest in the world because I just want to use this time to talk about Al-Qadim Muhammad. Two
Really?
tackles are the only thing that you see on the stat sheet, but my guy was balling out on Saturday. He was disruptive as hell. I think I have never felt so good about having a Marcus Davenport backup in Al-Qadim Muhammad than I do right now. And that's wild to say because I think a lot of people think we might have to rely on on a backup at that position. He was so good, you guys. And I know the PFF grade doesn't reflect it. I know they only gave him one pressure. I don't think that's fair or true. He is so physical in the way he plays that position, but he also has a nasty spin move. And I think he deserves this award just based on one play. And it was one of his two tackles. It was a bubble screen to the offense's left side. He was playing right defensive end. So the ball goes to the opposite side of the field. It goes for 25 yards downfield. And who makes a tackle? Al-Qadim Muhammad. Across the field, 25 yards downfield, makes a touchdown-saving tackle at the 10-yard line. The very next play was Grant Stewart's forced fumble. If the Lions had recovered that, Al-Qadim Muhammad would be a hero today. And you know what? He should be a hero today. So let's give him the Peanut M&M's T-Pain Player of the Week.
So I know you feel like you like set me up for success here because like the easy layup would be Kyle Allen. I was so prepared to talk about DJ Miller because I was thoroughly impressed with the secondary play in this game. DJ Miller had 4 total tackles, 3 solo, 2 passes defended, a tackle for loss. And in a secondary group where we're like looking to figure out like, hey, who's going to step up? Who's going to possibly make this roster as like CB6? That's where I was going to go and talk about him because I felt like, you know what? No one else is going to talk about DJ Miller, so I should. But let's be honest, like this should be Kyle Allen's week, right? Like he probably deserved it last week, didn't get it. He definitely deserves it this week after having back-to-back weeks of just again stellar performance, 2 touchdown passes. We talked about in the first segment, you know, really rocky start to the game, but really kind of put it together at the end, really showed command of the offense, made some like just really pinpoint accurate throws. And it's one of the reasons why we can kind of go through the rest of this offseason and feel fairly comfortable that like, hey, QB2 is locked up right now. So as much as it pains me to have to just put DJ Miller to the side, I'm gonna make my pick Kyle Allen for this week.
Take that, Jackson Meeks and Isaac Toslaw. You aren't even nominated this week.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, it's all right. Like, cause wait, both of those players, though, Jackson Meeks could have been what 2-time, didn't? Or who won it last week? I can't even remember now at this point. We need to like actually like have these posted up somewhere.
It's the preseason. These ones don't count.
Oh wow, way to sell it.
I do, but I
We'll
kind
keep
of like
we'll keep
the
tabs in
idea.
the regular season.
I kind of like the idea of giving this to like some of the underappreciated guys, right? Like we don't want to just like, oh well, I guess Jared Goff gets it again because he had 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. We got to give it to Amon-Ra, 130 yards and 4 touchdowns.
I mean, it's so true to the spirit of T-Pain, right?
Right.
Like just
Everyone underestimates him. Like, oh, he's the auto-tune guy. Nah. That dude has a good voice. You underestimate him.
All right, guys. So those are our nominations. We're gonna leave it up to our live Twitch chat to be able to vote who they believe should be this week's player of or T-Pain player of the game. And while they do that, we're gonna get a chance to talk about the rest of this defense. We're gonna start with the edge group as well. Jeremy, you mentioned Al-Qadim Muhammad really having a good standout game. Isaac Uku was another player that also really stood out as well as Nate Lynn. But one of the storylines that I think a lot of Lions fans are going to be paying attention to is the injury that occurred to Ahmed Hassanin. How do we think this impacts the rest of this edge group, Jeremy, as training camp continues to go on and the Lions are going to start making some cuts in a couple weeks here?
I mean, obviously we have to wait and to see what the news is, and maybe some of our listeners have already known by the time they're listening to this. But listen, I think the Lions would be okay if this is a potential long-term injury, or even, one that causes him to miss a couple weeks, because I just feel like having to start Ahmed Hassanin on, not the season-ending IR, but IR, is not the worst thing in the world for him, right? Like he can. I don't know how much he was going to play early in the season anyways, as he continues to learn. And if that opens up a spot for someone like Nate Lynn or Isaac Ukwu, who had, a sack and a called back sack, that's not terrible, right? Lynn has showed a lot this preseason. He has an extra year in the system. He's coming off an injury himself, but has had a full kind of off season because it was an injury that happened so long ago, where if Nate Lynn makes the roster for 4 weeks while Ahmed Hassanin gets healthier, that's a kind of like a no harm, no foul. It's a tough break for Hassanin if it is a serious injury, and we all would love to see him out there because he's an incredible story and looked decent through 2 preseason games. But, for like the sky is falling, all of our great players are getting injured type things, like this isn't that kind of news. It's a sad story, but I think the Lions will be just fine.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it, Jeremy, is that it's not the end of the world for a player who really needs time to marinate and just like time to get better. They weren't going to lean on him early on. I think if you give that opportunity to a guy like Nate Lynn, who has pass rushing chops, like I think you can say safely right now, like Ahmed Hassanin has a ways to go when it comes to putting together a pass rush plan and developing a move set and, continuing to develop that move set. Like he's at a point where I think he has a lot of growth and potential. I think Nate Lynn is showing it right now. So it's almost better. Like if you're looking to get a guy who might have a little bit more pass rush juice right out of the gate, well, then this does give an opportunity to Nate Lynn. This does give an opportunity to maybe some of the other guys like that aren't necessarily an edge player, right? Like maybe it opens up an opportunity for Keith Cooper. Maybe it opens up an opportunity to have another defensive lineman slide in there. Cause I think, Miko, to your question, what's the edge depth right now? Like, what does the edge depth look like outside of your 2 starters? You have Aiden Hutchinson and you have Marcus Davenport. Who are the next guys up? Like Josh Paschal is a guy who we haven't really talked about a lot because he's been injured. He's on NFI.
Yeah, I think that's the guy that that is first to mind in terms of like who would be first off the bench to be able to get into that rotation. I think Al-Qadim Muhammad is definitely playing himself into another one of those guys to be heavy in the rotation. And I think that lends itself to both of your point about, Ahmed Hassanin possibly having to miss some extended time wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, because the likelihood of him being heavy in the rotation, especially as a pass rusher, probably wasn't very likely in this first year. I do like what we were seeing from him as a run defender, and I think there would have been a lot of value in that in the event that you needed someone else to go out there on those early downs to be able to set an edge or be able to spell anybody. But Ryan, like you said, this is an amazing opportunity for Nate Lynn, who has been having a very good camp, and it at least possibly makes that decision of keeping him on the final 53, or Jeremy, fairly easy. I think, in my opinion, if you were sitting there looking at like, okay, Ahmed Hassani might have to miss some time, we may have to put him, on the regular season IR, or just, at the very least, give him more time to not feel like he has to rush back from any type of like pec or possible shoulder injury.
Yeah, I mean, Ukwu certainly made a case for himself as well, and it's interesting because Dan was talking about some of the edge rushers and even threw Agude into that conversation. I haven't been as impressed with Agude. The question is, what do you want in that reserve pass rusher, or edge rusher? I shouldn't say just pass rusher, because I think you probably want some run defense too. The way kind of I view the roster is, you look at that right defensive end position, and they switch it sometimes, but like that's Marcus Davenport's spot. Like, he's the edge setter, the physical guy. That's who I think Al-Qadim Muhammad is backing up. The physical, big, run setter, edge setter, run defender, but will also give you push in the pass rush. When you talk about Hutchinson's side, what do you value there? It's a little bit more pass rush, right? but you also don't want to quite give up too much in the run game. So is that Nate Lynn's spot? Is that Uku's spot? Is that a Gude's spot? It's hard to say.
I was going to say, I think we could agree though that Pascal would be that Davenport side, right?
True.
Like
Yes.
that's
Although they want him to play a lot in the interior too, right? Like in a lot of ways, I think there's a lot of overlap with Pascal and Keith Cooper. And if they decide, you know what, Pascal, stay on NFI for a month. We're gonna move you to the reserve NFI, which means you miss a minimum of 4 games. I think that's how Keith Cooper gets on the roster. He might get on it anyways, to be quite honest, because he's also been playing well. But if they decide that Pascal isn't going to make the 53, they're going to keep him on NFI. I feel like that's where Keith Cooper has his best shot, because we've seen a lot of Keith Cooper on the edge. We've seen a lot of him at the 4i, at the 3 tech. Can even play a little nose, which is, I think, how they want to view Pascal. But I think it is fair to wonder about, like, are you okay with Isaac Ukwu or Nate Lynn taking the 10 to 15 to 20% of snaps when Hutchinson isn't out there? Or the elephant in the room is, or not currently in the room, is Zadarius Smith. And does Ahmed Hassanin's injury impact that decision? Like, are you now willing to pay him a little bit more? Does he come back to the negotiating table saying, "Hey, you need me now, don't you?"
Ryan, would that give you any indication of how they were at least envisioning using Hassanin, if that was something to transpire? That, like, because I think, like, for the most part, what you were saying earlier about, like, he's not as advanced as a pass rusher, to go out and get someone like Zadarius Smith, who is much more advanced as a pass rusher, obviously, with all his years of experience, would at least indicate to me, like, maybe they had bigger plans for Ahmed than we initially thought.
I think maybe it could just be a numbers game too, though. I think it could just be a numbers game in terms of what Jeremy brought up initially with, like, the positional versatility and having guys be able to play outside and inside. Like, that's why they really like Levi Onwuzurike. That's why they loved him coming out of school. That's why they loved Aleem McNeil coming out of school. Like, yeah, he was a nose tackle, but he had 3 tech. It's why they drafted Tyleik Williams in the first round, right? Like, I think that the Hassanin injury would indirectly influence a Zadarius Smith signing, because it comes down to a numbers game. And maybe that's a blessing in disguise. Maybe, like, Ahmed Hassanin going down, them wanting to give Josh Pascal all the time to recover and recuperate and get right, bring in Zadarius Smith. And when those guys get healthy, well, I mean, Zadarius Smith, I think his role would so easily get carved out. I think that he could be a guy who plays mostly on 3rd down, and you can kick Aiden Hutchinson inside on pass rushing situations, and you'd be really happy with that. And I think Zadarius Smith would honestly probably be pretty happy with that. Like, I mean, is there anything more fun than just getting after the quarterback? Like, I mean, playing run defense is no walk in the park. So, like, they ask a lot of those guys, and I think that that'd be a pretty cushy gig for Zadarius Smith.
Get paid millions of dollars, and all you have to do is go get the quarterback.
It's so easy.
Who's going to complain
It's so
about
easy.
that?
Yeah.
Jeremy, I think you were the first one to bring up Keith Cooper in this conversation, and he's someone that you said, like, he is getting talked about a lot. I was watching the Lions TV network broadcast, and every time that he was on the field, like, they made sure to kind of highlight him as someone who is getting a lot of praise from the coaching staff and getting a lot of opportunities. And even in watching, the all 22, like you said, they are moving him all over the place on that defensive line. It's getting really hard to kind of ignore the fact that it does at least seem like they're trying to find a space for him on this 53, especially when you talk about the likes of Chris Smith, still being in the rotation as someone that could play that defensive, like that 3 tech defensive tackle role for the Lions, as well as Broderic Martin. Where do you think Keith Cooper ends up landing at the end of all of this, where, again, like, he's getting a lot of opportunities, it seems like?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's another one where it's like, okay, but what's the deal with Wingo? Because it feels like, again, there's a lot of overlap there. Is Wingo going to start on the PUP list? Is he going to be activated in the next week or two? Because if he's activated, I feel like that's it for Keith Cooper. Like you're just hoping to get him on the practice squad. And listen, he's a UDFA interior defender who can also play little edge. Like chances are that makes it through. It's not 100%, but chances are that does make it through. And you bring him back and you develop in the same way that you've done it with Lynn and Uku and Agude. But it's where do you need that early depth that I think might dictate who makes the roster and who doesn't. Because I thought Chris Smith has put together like 2 really, really solid preseason games, but he's kind of more of a nose. And so you're already 2 deep there, essentially. And if you want to count Tyleek, you're technically 3. And so it's with Chris Smith, it's just like, oh man, you're earning it. You're doing everything you can, but you were thrust into a situation you were never going to win. And so Chris Smith is a guy where I'm just like, you're playing really well. You're doing exactly what they want. You're a great run defender. But at the same time, you're just going to have to spend time on the practice squad and, you're not hoping for an injury, but like that's how Chris Smith makes a 53. Is this if an injury happens. Whereas with a guy like Keith Cooper, it's like, well, okay, you might not have a couple guys, right? You might not have Wingo. Pat O'Connor's kind of in and out of the lineup. Pascal's a guy that plays inside and outside that may or may not be ready. And so he's just a little bit more valuable simply by the numbers game. I think he's a great story. He's playing pretty well. I think he wasn't as exciting on Saturday, but the fact that he's getting reps early and at multiple spots is certainly an indication that they like him.
Ryan, I want to kind of discuss like this whole like interior D-line situation, specifically with like Pascal and Wingo, because I think we talked about both of them being able to like kick outside but also play inside, and there's a possibility that they may play more inside this year than outside. I feel like a lot like Jeremy said, they seem to be at least 2 to maybe even 3 deep at nose, but maybe like outside of Aleem as like a 3 tech, which even Aleem could moonlight as a 1 as a nose if like really needed to. You don't have a lot of like true 3 techs. Is that something where like as you're kind of constructing this roster that maybe the coaching staff is taking into consideration with Wingo and possibly Pascal coming back of like, hey, we probably plan on using them more as traditional 3 techs this year than we do in terms of like actually kicking them outside and having them rush from the outside?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Levi news factors into that the most, right? Like he was going to be the 3 tech that they would be able to count on when they wanted that guy out there manning that spot. I think, I don't know,
Aleem too, by the way.
right, obviously, yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, number 1 with the bullet is Aleem, but I mean, you would, if both those guys were healthy, you'd feel really good about what your team can do at the 3 technique between those 2 guys, Josh Pascal moonlighting in there, Aiden Hutchinson kicking inside on passing downs. Like you'd have a lot of versatility there. I don't know if this team is so hard up to figure out like who's going to play 3 tech when they know on first and second down that they're bigger and better than most NFL teams when it comes to stopping the run. So it's like they have dudes in there. They have linebackers who can fly to the ball and make plays. When it comes time to need a 3 tech, they can manufacture it by moving a guy around who can provide some pass rushing juice. That's where this team is going to miss Aleem McNeil's presence the most. I think he's the one guy, and I think we can all agree, like, if they're looking for somebody to consistently create pressure from the interior of that defense without it being schemed up, which, funny enough, we saw Kelvin Shepard do quite a bit of it in this preseason game against the Dolphins, where he just, let loose. Zach Cunningham, Grant Stewart, it doesn't matter. Like it seems like he's very much a man of the school of Aaron Glenn.
Yeah.
And I think they'll figure out a way to manufacture that pressure along the interior in the meantime while Aleem is on the mend.
I think that's fair enough. Let's talk secondary because, like I talked about in my like nomination of T-Pain Player of the Game, I thought the secondary played really well, and it wasn't just like one guy. It wasn't just like the Rock Ya-Sin show, like it's kind of been like the last couple weeks. It was a number of guys making some really good plays. Hallett played really well. Uh, Nick Whiteside played really well. Strickland and Kennelly, which I apparently did not know that's how you pronounce that name, but apparently that is how you pronounce. Like Jeremy, just tell me how good it was, and like, honestly, how challenging it's going to be for this coaching staff when you have a bunch of depth guys that are playing so well this late into the offseason.
Yeah, I mean it's a good problem to have, in particular when you lost potentially two spots on the 53 that you thought you were going to have with Ennis and Dan Jackson, right? Those are two guys that I think we all agreed that probably certainly with Ennis, Dan was maybe more roster bubble. But to see some of these guys step up, I mean, the Lions defensive backs had 9 pass breakups on Saturday. That's wild. That's a ton. Now,
Was it Eric Hallett that probably should have had the interception?
yes.
Yes.
Both him and
Well,
I think
some
42. Which
DJ Miller.
It's either DJ Miller or what was the other guy? Either way, one of the guys in the 40s, DJ Miller or I'm not gonna remember his name. I'm sorry to who you are. But yeah, I mean, it was nice to see that. The downside of that is like every ball that they didn't get their hand on was completed, and if you were to put the quarterback stats together, it's like 3 touchdowns, 270 yards, and 120 passer rating. So, in that sense, it doesn't look good. But
Was it Luke? It was Luke,
it was
right?
Luke Barku is who I'm thinking of for sure.
Which, speak about name bracket.
Right.
I mean,
I should remember that name instantly. It is such an interesting secondary because you have those roster spots I was talking about that are open, but also because we don't really even know how they view someone like Rock Ya-Sin right now. Because he's mostly been playing safety. And is that like, okay, you're a safety now, or let's make sure you're comfortable with the safety position because we view you as outside corner 3 or outside corner 4. Amik are you? I mean, we know Amik is going to be the starting nickel, but is he the first one that moves off of nickel if there's an injury at outside corner? And then do you move Avonte Maddox to nickel? Is Avonte Maddox safety 3? We know all these guys can play all these different positions, but we don't really know what the Lions view them as primarily as. What is Rock Ya-Sin's primary position? What is Avonte Maddox's primary position? And so if you don't know that, you don't know where the Lions need depth. Do they need depth at outside corner, or are they cool with Amik and Rock Ya-Sin? Eric Hallett is one of these guys that fits in all of those categories, and it makes it very hard for me to keep him off the roster right now because he can play outside, he can play nickel, he can play safety, and he balled out on Saturday, man. He had 3 pass breakups, and I don't quite agree with PFF's like 91 coverage grade that they gave him because I think there were some times where he got a little bit out of his zone, but I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that guy doing more for his job security than he did on Saturday because he played just about every position in the secondary because he got his hands on 3 balls. And so it's just like, okay, but where am I putting you? And who are you behind? And I don't know the answer to any of these questions, and it makes it very hard to make a 53.
that might be how they value him, Miko, though, right? Like, I mean, you look at what you said, Jeremy, with like Avonte Maddox. Well, he can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Rocky Ya-Sin can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Eric Hallett, you can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We like that, So just again, the positional versatility, I do find it interesting. He didn't have the greatest game against Atlanta. He took 20 snaps outside corner. Lo and behold, the next game he plays 16 snaps at free safety and only plays 14 at corner. Plays some box stuff. Maybe that's a value. Maybe he's a safety. Maybe he's a guy who you can trust to be back there. Special teams is going to be the big deciding factor.
Yep.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, like you kind of pinpointed, Jeremy, like a lot of those guys do have that versatility. And I think it's a versatility that they want to keep with that secondary, that they don't want to just be having just a ton of outside corners. They need guys that can, hey, if we need you to play nickel, we know that we can trust you to play nickel. If we need you to go out there and play safety for a couple snaps, we know that you can do that at a high level. And that could give someone like Hallett an inside track, to being, an inside track to making this roster. But at the same time, like there are a lot of these outside corners that are playing really well. And this safety battle between Strickland and Kennelly is also getting really interesting as well. So it's something that, like you said, I understand like the challenge of it because there does seem to be like who is backing up who. But at the same time, it also feels like knowing this coaching staff and knowing this regime, versatility may trump a lot of those things.
Yeah. And when it comes to Kennelly and Strickland, if you pay attention to reps and you pay attention to rep order, it certainly seems like Ian Kennelly has taken the edge there, right? He started, I think, 2 preseason games in a row. He's out there on most first team special team reps, particularly in practice. And I'm talking first team, like when the starters are out there, the starting special teams guys, it's been Kennelly in there instead of Strickland. And so I feel like that has been a recent development. Now, I thought Strickland pretty decent in the preseason game. I haven't gone deep into the second half yet, but some of the early stuff that I saw in the second half was good. But again, it was Kennelly who was out there for the first half and into some of the second half as well. And you're just like, well, if they're giving this guy a lot of opportunity, and before when Strickland is now only getting, a fraction of the pie, you don't want to read too much into that, but you certainly have to read a little bit into it. And I'm interested in see what the split will be for that final preseason game, because I feel like that spot might come down to that final preseason game.
So Ryan, we've covered a number of players already that have really stood out in this last preseason game, and that have probably either helped themselves or maybe even hurt themselves going into, this next week of training camp. Is there anyone else that for you that stood out in a way that we haven't had a chance to kind of, maybe give their flowers to, or someone that you think like, hey, like they're going to have a tough week of practice because, probably not the greatest of showings?
2 names stick out. One for like good reasons, but not for the reasons that this team needs. It's Broderic Martin. Like, did he flash as a pass rusher? Yeah. Do the Lions have a use for a pass rushing nose tackle? No. Like they don't have a spot on the roster for that. And it's like, I don't know if it's a little bit too late, or it really just comes down to like he needs to be a much better run defender. And I don't know if there's enough time to make that happen, especially with all the other names that we've mentioned along the defensive line, as far as the numbers game that goes into that. And then the other name was just going to be Zach Horton. Thought Zach Horton had a pretty darn good game at tight end / fullback / all the other stuff that he does. I'm interested to see some more Zach Horton. I have a feeling that Zylstra is the guy, but Zach Horton's definitely making it interesting for me when it comes to tight end 3.
Yeah, I would say Martin was someone that for me, when watching the tape back, I was a little, considering how hard we've been on him, and again, rightfully so far this preseason, it was nice to kind of see him win some reps. It was specifically those one-on-one reps where, like you said, he really did kind of flash some pass rushing skills, flashed his ability to get into the backfield and beat the man in front of him. But like you said, the concerning thing is that of a player of his size, you're expecting him to, hold up better on double teams. You're expecting him to play a little bit bigger in the run game. And Jeremy, that just kind of didn't quite show up enough for me. And that's the thing where it's tough, because it's like, do I ding you for not taking on 2 offensive linemen well, and not praise you for, but at the same time, like not praise you for like winning very cleanly in one-on-one reps? Like, it's not like, oh, like that was a nice rep. Like, no, like these were really good one-on-one reps that he was having in his last game.
He showed a level of explosiveness a couple times this preseason where you're like, oh, that's what they saw. Like, they saw that athleticism, that quick twitch, that, like, if you could get that player to run defend too and use his frame that way, that is a very dangerous player. And they just haven't been able to get the run stuff out. Like, do you know what grade Broderic Martin got in pass rush in this past
Wasn't
game?
it like
in 14
high 90s?
snaps, 92 pass rush, highest on the team by far. No one had one in the 80s. I don't know if it was that good. It's odd to me to give someone a 92 pass rush on 14 reps and only have 1 pressure. But PFF works in mysterious ways. But you're right. Like, he's winning a lot of those one-on-ones decisively and quickly. But that's not how the Lions defense really operates at all.
When are they ever asking their nose tackle to
never
get upfield?
Never. It is hold your gap first, and then when you're certain it's not a run play, that's when you transition into a pass rush. And so Broderic Martin could find a spot somewhere else and maybe even thrive a little bit. And I'm happy to see at least the light go on a little bit with him, but it's not going to work out here. It just isn't. I think the Lions are going to cut him, and I think there's probably a pretty good chance someone takes a chance on him before he gets back to the Lions, if they would even want him back on the practice squad. I'm happy for him that he's seeing a little bit of success here, but it just doesn't feel like he's doing what the Lions are going to want him to do.
Yeah. Any thoughts from you on Zach Horton? Because I know you were really high on him a couple weeks ago, and like Ryan, like he definitely flashed for me on Saturday. It was shocking to me when I went back to the stat sheet because it felt like he was more involved than like what it actually says.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a positive, right? Like you seem like you're impacting the game more than the stat sheet actually says.
I was going to say, I think that's true for a lot of players, but it just didn't show up in the box score because a flag got thrown.
Yeah. And he got flagged for a holding that was only partially his fault. Anytime a run gets kicked outside like that, it puts a lot of extra pressure on the people blocking on the edge. I thought he was okay. There was certainly a lot of up and down. I like him a lot still as a blocker. It just feels a little raw to me right now. And so I feel like it's almost like a Tim Patrick situation where it's just like they're just going to go with the guy that they're comfortable with, the guy that they like, that they know has been in this offense for now like 4 or 5 years. Zylstra has been around, but I do like Horton's potential, and so I would love to see him come back on the practice squad. But I don't think he's shown enough to warrant a spot on the 53.
Gonna say I think he caught a pass that there was like a flag that got thrown on too. But I mean, he just like inline backfield.
Yeah,
he played in the slot a little bit, like kick return, punt coverage, punt return. Yeah,
sounds like a guy that you would love to have back on the practice squad and be able to develop him. But like you said, like those top 3 tight ends, like obviously Sam Laporta is going to do a lot for you. Brock Wright is your main inline blocker, but also can do some things in the receiving game. And then obviously Shane Zylstra is another primarily receiving threat, but obviously if you're going to play on, a Dan Campbell led offense, you're going to have to get in there and block as well. So the luxury, going back to that, of like a tight end 4 just doesn't quite seem there. But if you can get this type of player on your practice squad, and possibly if something comes up, like Zach Horton at least has shown enough, like you said, versatility to maybe warrant a spot later in the season if that is warranted at any given time. Anybody got anyone else that probably stood out before we announce who our T-Pain player of the game winner is?
I think we're ready.
All right.
The people have waited long enough.
This week's Peanut M&M's T-Pain player of the game award goes to Kyle Allen, winning with 59% of the vote. I don't think there's any way that we can like argue this, right? Like the man deserved it. 2 weeks. Yeah. 2 solid weeks in a row.
I think this means you get the floor. Isn't that the new stipulation of the T-Pain player of the game, is that the person who nominated him gets the floor to talk for however long we want to make it?
I was going to say, the only thing that's weird about that is like, this wasn't my initial pick, but like, hey, kudos to Kyle Allen because he definitely deserved it. Like, I can honestly say, we talked about this in the first segment, but I feel more comfortable about the QB2 position as of right now. And I think the way that he came into camp and the way that he's been able to perform as of like lately, like Lions fans should feel good that if something were hopefully not happen to Jared Goff, but if something were, you have a guy in there that's been able to go in and run a nice offense, and make the right throws, make the right reads. And so, yeah, Kyle Allen, enjoy your T-Pain Player of the Game award.
He deserves it. You guys don't want to see Jameis Winston come in? I've seen that tweet 3,000 times since Saturday.
Absolutely not.
I mean, it'd be a good way to test out your depth corners, give them the confidence with all the interceptions they catch in practice.
I mean, to be fair, you guys would get like the writers over at Predator are going to have a lot of interesting things to write about. Like that would be a given.
No, I did. I'm sorry. I talked that into existence. Please, like, okay.
Nope.
We rewound.
Now, listen, to all of our listeners, everybody watching, if this happens, you can now blame
at Ryan
the cable guy.
POD.
Right.
Cable guy.
Ryan, the cable guy. That's who you can blame from now on, if that would actually happen. But that's pretty much gonna do it for this week, guys. Again, I don't know when the next time we're gonna be doing the podcast because again, preseason is weird and who knows when. I can't remember when the next game is. I think it's Saturday, right?
It's Saturday, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Wednesday probably is when we'll do another preview podcast or something like that. We'll see.
Just
But with
subscribe
all
and you'll
that's-
get it, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. If you guys take out the time to subscribe to us over on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit or over on youtube.com/Pride of Detroit as well, you can basically be locked in every time we go live on either of those platforms. Or if you're already, getting the podcast over on Apple Podcasts or over on Spotify, you'll be notified when the podcast goes live on any of those days. Because like I said, it's a mystery to us even right now because we got to basically set our schedule. But with all of that said, we appreciate you guys taking the time to watch and listen. Be sure to check out prideofdetroit.com for all of the latest articles and any of the latest news surrounding the Detroit Lions. And with all of that said, I'm Miko. He's Jeremy. He's Ryan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch and listen. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Recording stopped.
We did it. By the way, the Bears are up 28-0. They're going to the Super Bowl, guys.
Who are they playing?
The Bills, who are not playing starters.
Ah.
The Bills' offense has been putrid. Mike White is 4 for 11 for 54 yards, and they have a combined 10 rushing yards on 5 carries. But my goodness, Tyson Bagent, 11 of 16 for 184 and a touchdown. Quarterback controversy?
Absolutely. Caleb Williams' first 3-pick game. Ben Johnson's pulling him. Throwing in Bagent.
Chicago, Miami Super Bowl? Good. Yeah, that's how I see it. Someone was asking before. Madden Sims will return. I do not have the current version of Madden. I assume it's been released at this point. Is that true? Or
Yeah,
no?
that's true. I think that's true.
Oh, I have no. Yeah.
I saw the Saints
Sure.
giving away codes. I'm like, come on, Lions. What are we doing here? If you're watching Lions, and I know a lot of times you are. Madden codes, please.
Please and thank you.
I mean, you're referencing our Madden Sims in your schedule release videos, so.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Borrowing our frame by frame.
No, that was their own.
It wasn't yours.
No, on the
Did they have a
Miami
watermark?
Dolphins catch that was not a catch that the Dolphins tweeted out during joint practices. I screenshotted what was clearly a second foot landing out of bounds. The Lions screenshotted their own video of it. A different angle.
Oh yeah, because you.
A
I was
very
gonna say you
similar.
screenshotted it. I was like, no, it was the same angle. They just
was very
removed
close.
your blue circle.
No. It was technically a different angle. It was their own cameras.
Okay.
Believe me, I know. And I've seen video as well that very clearly show him out of bounds. Because like the Dolphins video, he goes behind the goalpost or the what do you call it?
Yeah, the goalpost.
What's the thing in the middle on the ground called? Is that still just called the goalpost?
Yeah, the pad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Guy criticizes Jake Bass, doesn't even know what he's kicking at.
I know that this is considered the goalpost. I didn't know if this was considered a different part.
It's all one piece.
One Piece? Are we talking anime again?
All right, I'm done. I'm clocking out.
Oh man.
Jeremy, would you and Eric ever consider doing a behind-the-scenes feature of what your game day looks like from arriving at Ford Field to clocking out for the day?
Come
Me?
get ready with me video.
Do a TikTok. There you go. Go follow us on TikTok, everybody.
Come get ready with me to cover the Detroit Lions versus Houston Texans preseason week 3.
I don't think it would. I mean, obviously, you guys are the ones that would decide whether that would be interesting or not. But I feel like it wouldn't be that interesting. Like Eric and I get there, like 2.5 hours before the game, and we do nothing for like the first hour. We just sit there and shoot the shit with like people that are there.
Yeah, I think like Ryan said, you got to do a get ready with me, do an outfit of the day.
The amount of
You
thought
gotta,
that goes
like-
into my game day outfit is not even enough for a 10-second TikTok.
Well, then that's an opportunity for us to level up your outfit game as people feedback and say that you dress, less than adequate.
Wow.
Wow.
Listen, once I found out that Colton apparently like was named best dressed, I was like, Jeremy let us down.
He was named best dressed by one person. One person gave their opinion on him, and he said, listen, I didn't hear anyone else say disagree. Colton's got some fit to him.
I'm sure he does. I just need you to represent us better.
No. It's just like, that is not something that is a priority in my life or will likely ever be a priority in my life.
See, you should take your outfits more serious like Ryan does.
No one else? Dueling banjos now? Ryan, I can tell you're staying still this time. I know you're trying. Exactly, Kylo.
Shut up, Kylo.
Someone said you should get a pedicure to start your day. See, listen, like
Maybe.
the content's making itself.
Oh, it's 10 o'clock.
Yes. What's with all the trades happening today?
I don't know. Team's desperate for attention.
Jaguars are sending center Luke Fortner to the Saints in the Kalen Saunders, who, what is a running back? Is that what that was?
No, defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle.
Not even close.
Hashtag running backs don't matter.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Time to get out of here?
Yeah. Sure.
All right. We're going to get out of here. Oh, I do have Southern Kicks. Thank you for the follow on Twitch. And the Pintar. Thank you for the 24 months subscribed on Twitch using that Twitch Prime. Appreciate you. Appreciate every one of you. Excuse me. Whoa, my throat just went dry. PODD videos Monday and Tuesday because we got practice Monday and Tuesday. Midweek will probably Wednesday because that's the day that the Lions have off. Or at least, I don't know. No, they probably have it off. We don't have any access either way. So Wednesday would be a good day to do it. It's the middle of the week for the midweek mailbag. And then joint practice Thursday. The Texans. So get a PODD there. If you're a Pride of Detroit direct subscriber, go to prideofdetroit.com/subscribe if you want to subscribe. Or if you're in one of the chats right now, !PODD. And
I'll be at practice on Thursday.
Oh, that's right.
Shout out to Adam for the ticket. Appreciate you.
What up, Adam? Appreciate you. When are you going to be there, Ryan? Come on.
No. If I was going to go, I'd want to go to a joint practice. It's the most fun.
That alert now will work. Son of a... I thought I had that. Anyways, I
don't need to go to practice. I watch PODD.
Do you?
No.
Wow.
Well, I'm being honest, but like I just tried to pluck your thing, so
It's fine. Not a real fan.
Please, John Ness, don't fire me.
Don't call out my bosses. They're not going to see this, but don't call them out, please. All right. We're going to get out of here.
Okay.
We'll see you Wednesday-ish.
Starside.